morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well this morning. So this is going to be day 6, I believe, of the yoga challenge. So I wanted to take this opportunity to show you some yoga props. So I have some yoga props on one side, and I have the alternative if you do not have yoga props on the other side. So we're going to go through all the props and kind of discuss how they're used, how they can benefit you, what are the ones that I would recommend spending money on, and what are the ones that I would kind of say, you don't really need. So let's get right into it. So we'll start with the simple one, which is the yoga strap. So this is the yoga strap. And they typically go, they can go anywhere from I think $8 to $20, depending on the material and whatnot. But honestly, it's just a strap. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money myself on a yoga strap. The alternative to it, as we discussed before, would just be a belt. So if you're at home and you need, you're doing a yoga online class or something like that and you need a strap, you can just use a belt instead, or even a scarf. So you can use a scarf as the same thing, just like that. Or even tying it around your feet when you're doing a forward fold. It does the same purpose. So a scarf or a belt you can use if you don't have a prop. A strap is nice to have for sure. If you do yoga regularly, I would invest in a strap. It's one of those basic ones that are really good to have. So that's that. So the next one that everybody knows a lot about is the blocks. So like I said in one of my previous videos, you can use books, but blocks are books are okay. Even pillows, if you wanted to prop up your knees when you're having in seated position and stuff. So you can use pillows, but you can imagine when we're doing something, standing poses or different poses where we're leaning into the block for support, a pillow is not going to do a very good job of that. So a big book would work, but once again, you don't have as much of a grip on it. So these are another thing that I would definitely invest in. So I'd invest in 2 blocks, and you can find them at the dollar store even for a couple of dollars. They can go anywhere from, $3 a block to I don't even know, I think up to $20 a block or for a couple blocks. So it depends on the material. Of course, there's cork ones and styrofoamy ones. So whatever your budget can afford, blocks are a great option to have. And they're not just great for beginners or people with limited mobility where they might not be able to touch the floor, so they lean on a block for a standing position. But they're even great for advanced poses. So if you're working on doing lifts, you can use the blocks to find that length to lift you up. So they're good for a lot of things. You can even use them to do jump throughs. So if you're practicing jump throughs where you're on downward dog and you jump your legs through, blocks will give you that height to be able to pull your core together to jump through with your legs. So blocks are definitely a great investment. And when you're first starting off, if you spend a couple of dollars on them, I think that's totally acceptable. I wouldn't go crazy myself because blocks are blocks. They usually hold up pretty good. All right, so that's that. Obviously, there's yoga mat. Now, this is the one thing that I would definitely put some thought into. So you have yoga mat. This was my first yoga mat ever. And this thing actually held up really good. I got this when I was 16, and I still have it. And it's definitely starting to peel. But this was a great one. It was grippy. It's a lot thicker than this one that I have now. So there is so many yoga mats out there and so many brands. And I don't believe in trying to spend too much money. Stay within the range that you can afford. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on a mat for yoga. Yoga is not about that. Yoga is about getting on your mat and practicing and living the yoga lifestyle, right? So if you have the money, you can purchase. These go from anywhere from like, I think you can find them at Winners for $15 up to this one I think was about $50, and then you can go onwards and upwards like $200 and stuff. So you can tell in a lot of my videos and stuff, this mat's starting to wear. So I'm gonna have to get a new mat eventually. But the number two thing, the two top things that I would suggest about looking at mats is making sure that it's really grippy, because you don't want to be sliding on it. And to make sure, what I like is to check the thickness. I like thinner because it makes me feel more rooted into my postures, so I feel really grounded, almost like I'm doing it right on the ground. If it's too thick, you kind of feel like there's too much of a squishy surface, almost like if you're doing yoga on carpet, right? It doesn't feel as grounding, you don't feel as stable. So I would look at getting a little bit of a thinner one if you can. But find what works best for you, of course, and what fits your budget. So those are just a couple of yoga mats. So the next thing is meditation pillow. So this one I purchased quite a while ago. I actually have some really big ones. If you've been following me for a long time, you've probably seen them at my kitchen table. We sit on the floor when we eat. So I have really big ones, I have small ones. I've collected some from the thrift store, pillowcases, and stuffed them. So you can have a meditation pillow made out of anything, just making sure it's comfortable. Meditation pillows are not a must. Meditation pillows are kind of like a luxury. They're great for, you know, propping up, so that when you're doing seated, you can slightly tilt your pelvis forward, so that helps when you're seated for a long period of time. When you're doing seated meditation and stuff. It's so comfy, it's wonderful, I love it. It is a luxury. You don't need to purchase them. If you don't have a meditation pillow, you can just use a regular pillow. You can find these fancy pillows. These were only like a couple of bucks on Amazon, and then just stuff them, and they work just as good, right? So depending on how thick you stuff them will depend on the kind of the support underneath. So pillows are a great option. So that is the next thing. So let me see. There's Bolster. Now bolsters are not necessary. Like I said, you can use these big pillows, and you can get these pillows from Walmart, I think for about 15 bucks or so, these body pillows, and you can fold them up and use them. Or you can use just really long sleeping pillows if you have them, and stack them on top of each other. I will say though, even though this is another luxury to have, it is worth the money if you are going to be doing lots and lots of yoga. It is so nice to have when you're needing to, especially if you do a lot of restorative, or if you have a lot of mobility issues, if you have chronic issues, this is such a good support to have. So you can, I've showed you in the other video, using it for child's pose. You can even use it when you're going into forward folds to lean on. I used this a lot in my pregnancy when we did anything that we were leaning forward, just to lean on it. Felt really nice. So yeah, it's definitely a luxury. You don't need it, but it is nice to have. And these can range, these can get very expensive. I would always look secondhand online if you can, but they can range depending on the company. Gosh, anywhere from, I'd probably say about $50, $75 to $150 or so. So yeah, they definitely are a little bit of an investment. They do also have, there's also little bolsters. You can get little ones for your neck, which are really nice. Like I said, if you do a lot of restorative. There is also these kind of half moon ones for your head. Those are all really luxury items. You don't need them for yoga. For me, the most important thing is to have a good mat, to put money into getting a good mat that you feel really comfortable on, and to purchase blocks. And like I said, they go for a couple dollars, and possibly a strap if you need it, or if you would like to get one. The other thing that I will talk about and I don't have, but it is a soft, squishy block, and it's a big square one. And so when we're doing poses where we're on our knees and you have any knee issues, it's really nice to use. So what I tell people to do instead is you can use a blanket like this, and you can have that same support, or you're always welcome to roll up your mat. So just rolling up your mat slightly, like that, gives that little bit of cushion so that you're not right on that knee joint. But those soft blocks are wonderful. They are so comfy. So if you ever need one of those, if you have a lot of knee issues, then it might be something to really look at purchasing. The other really cool thing that they have is these wedges for underneath your wrists. So it's another thing that if you have wrist issues would be a perfect thing to invest in. So they're just like these little wedges so that when you come into any poses where your wrist is being pushed down, you just slightly lift it. So the options to use if you don't have that is to have like a towel rolled up like this, and then that will just bring your wrist up just a tiny bit. Or if you don't have that, you can always roll up your mat, and then you have a little bit of comfort on that wrist joint. So when you come into anything like crow pose, you're coming in and having that support into your wrist. So if you have any wrist issues. So that pretty much covers all the props. Oh, there's one more prop I wanted to show you. So there's this wheel. Now this is definitely, absolutely, for sure, a luxury item. So these actually, some of them aren't too expensive, but they can go anywhere from, I think, $50 to $150. These are really fun. There's lots of different things you can do with them, and you can definitely Google all the different things. What I like about it myself is it's really great for back bends. So when you're reaching, oh, hopefully I'll be in the frame here, and you're coming back. So leaning back and finding that movement in the lower back. So massaging the back with this feels amazing. If you're feeling really tight in the shoulders, opening up and using this is so nice. And you can even get into advanced poses with this. So if you wanted to come into more advanced poses, you can use this as support as you move into deeper poses. So this is definitely something for people who have been practicing yoga for a while. It would not be ideal for beginners because it is quite a big bend in the back. The other thing I use at home, and I know this is going to sound funny, but I use my couch. So I've laid on my couch before and dropped my back over the side of the couch and allowed my arms and neck to kind of fall back with gravity. So not to drop back like I was talking the other day about the dangers of throwing your neck back, but just like flipping all the way back so you're upside down. That's what I've used in the past just to stretch out my back, my upper back. So definitely a luxury item. I would definitely suggest that for people who have a little bit of experience with yoga props and yoga in general. But yeah, so that kind of breaks down the different yoga props and the things you can use at home if you don't have the props. So yeah, I would definitely recommend the mat and the blocks as musts, and everything else really you can make do with what you have. And yeah, so I hope that kind of breaks down things and explains things a little bit, shows you kind of a little bit of how to use some of these props, because props are used not just for, people think it's for people who cannot do something. It's not necessarily for people that cannot do something. It's to support you. So if you're doing restorative poses, the purpose of restorative is to be supported and completely relax into the pose. So you want to use supports. Like I said, you can use a lot of these blocks for advanced poses. to help teach you how to engage your core and how to lift up a little bit higher. So props are for everybody, not just beginners, and not just people with mobility challenges. So I hope that kind of clarifies some of the different props. And I know there's probably a few other out there that I might not even be aware of because they're always making new things. So if I've missed anything, I'm sorry. I can never keep up with things. I'm a simple person. I like simple things. This is why I had my mat for, you know, like up to 20 years. You know, I like just simple. So a good mat and some blocks and a strap and I'm good to go. So have a wonderful day today. Use your props if you have them. If you're watching a video where they're suggesting props for beginners, don't feel ashamed to use them. That's what they're there for. They're there for support. So your challenge today is just to listen to your body, and if you need those supports, to allow yourself to have them and not feel ashamed about it at all. All right? So have a wonderful day, guys, and we will see you tomorrow.